stand well here, so I'll do my best not to move around too much. As Steve said, my name is Carrie Grant. I'm currently the chair for the Canine Subcommittee. We work under the Board of Directors to help facilitate several different things. And so because we don't have a lot of an active role in the conferences, certainly not in the past, we're trying to change that. We just wanted to take an opportunity to share with you what the Canine Subcommittee is about, what we're responsible for, and who is on that committee, and then some openings that we have, and that sort of thing. So our current membership, we have 10 members, and we represent the different SUSAR regions. The states are represented right now. We have Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, New Jersey, Georgia, Tennessee, Indiana, and Michigan. And those are all obviously divided into the different regions. And before I move on, I'd like to recognize those that are here in the room, because I do have several. That means you, Paul. Paul is our current secretary on the committee. He's from Louisiana. Is Alice in here? There she is. Perfect timing, Alice. Beautiful. This is Alice Holmes from New Jersey. And she brings a human remains expertise to the committee as well, because that is certainly a component, but it's not something that all of our task forces have. So she brings that expertise to the committee, so we appreciate having her. Brent Koniger, I believe, is in the Paratech class this morning, but he's here from Oklahoma. And is that all that's here? Paul? I believe that's the only ones that are here that were able to make it. So we have several openings on the committee, and we're always looking for interested individuals to help represent our regions. So we have openings in the West, Northeast, and Central. So if those are your region, or you know someone who is interested, we would like to let everybody know what those responsibilities are for being on the committee. What we do is essentially our Bible, the Canine Standard, the Disaster Lifeline and HRD Standard is what we're responsible for. We regularly review it, look to see if there's anything that we need to change, recommend revisions to that standard, and then we pass it over to the board for approval. That standard is essentially what we try to do is stay equivalent to FEMA standard, because we all know that's very important with EMAT and with the continuum of us ensuring that our canines are fully, highly certified when we deploy. So that standard is imperative for us to be able to do our job. So we maintain that standard. It's an 85-page document, so it does take time. So that's what we've spent over the last 12 months. We've been revising based on the new FEMA standard that just came out. Maintaining the canine teams and the evaluator rosters. We have several evaluators in our system. Scott Pearson, Ms. Rayanne, probably stepped out of the room, Rayanne Chamberlain, Alice Holmes, Paul Lissette, myself. We all evaluate our teams. That's what we spent the last 3 days before the conference doing with the wonderful canines from New York that successfully passed their tests. And we now have 2 brand new teams in New York and 1 that recertified to be able to provide that service. So we manage the Canine Evaluator Program. So those of us that are evaluators, either on the committee, obviously, or outside of the committee, we would try to recruit new members, train them by allowing them to shadow test. So if we had any new evaluators in the system, we would have invited them to come and watch the test process. They have to help shadow and literally shadow Scott or the lead evaluator, and seeing how that process works to make sure that we are being as consistent as possible. We all know that there's an issue with consistency sometimes, and it's imperative that it's not just practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect. So we really want to try to emulate what the right thing to do is. So shadowing is an extremely important process to developing new evaluators. Certifying those evaluators, and then documenting, making sure that they are fulfilling their role, as well as we vet and store all the documents from tests. So from the tests we had the last 3 days, we've got a stack of documents about this tall that we have to maintain, those score sheets. We facilitate and coordinate the sanctioning of those tests. So we can't have just somebody who pops up and says, hey, we want to host a SUSAR canine test. Well, we need to make sure that they have the right facilities, that they have the right equipment, based on the standard. And so there's a lot that is involved in that. So we have to make sure that that truly is done. And that includes live find and human remains. So there's a couple of requirements, and the reason there's requirements, we're all volunteers, right? I don't think we get paid for this. I don't think so. But we really want to make sure that those that are sitting on the committee truly have a vested interest in being there and have something to bring to the table, because we really have a lot of important things that we're responsible for. So we want to make sure that they're a member of a SUSAR task force or team, that they have an understanding of what SUSAR is about, that they've been a current or former canine handler. So, you know, there's TFLs, there's STMs who may or may not have ever been a canine handler, but they train regularly with their teams. But specifically, if you've been a canine handler, you understand, you've lived, that you've been in those shoes, and we want them on the team to be able to bring that to the table. We want them to have a working knowledge of that Bible, the standard that we talked about a little bit earlier. And then obviously we want them to be able to participate in those monthly meetings. So we have an attendance, I guess not a requirement, but we certainly want them to attend those meetings as much as possible so that we can get the work done. So what's the most common denominator requirement for everything a task force accomplishes? Can anybody answer that question? People, okay. But what do we have to do with people? Gotta find them. What else? What'd you say?
Train them.
Training.
Teamwork.
Training and teamwork. But everything we do on a task force requires training, whether it's with tools or with people. So, how many TFLs do I have in here? STMs, search team managers, okay. Med specs, hazmat. No hazmats in here? Oh, they must be out of Tech. So let me ask an STM, what is your requirement for training on your task force on an annual basis? Or a TFL? What is your requirement per your local task force? How much training?
Varies by component.
Okay, so give me an example. How much training does your task force require that you do every year?
It requires participation, but again,
Okay.
each component is different as to what the needs are
Okay,
to stay efficient.
all right.
Canines, for instance, for them, they've decided mandatory once a month, plus they have additional optional trainings within that month.
Right.
Other components, they may only meet 4 times a year, 6 times a year.
Okay,
It varies. The component rescue is a busy component.
right.
Search is a busy component. Some just more than others.
Okay,
A lot of it's determined by the component though, in coordination with the training manager and the task force to see that they're meeting their objectives.
right. And I know that we have FEMA, we have SUSAR. I know with my team in particular, we have quarterly what we call state continuing education, or CEs, that we have to do. And that's where these particulars those particular roles fall into. Every quarter you have to attend a certain amount of those in order to maintain your membership or your deployability on our task force. So in comparison to that, the reason I brought that up is because I wanted you to see, you know, canines are, we're high maintenance. We really are. And most of the TFLs and STMs, when they see a canine handler coming, they kind of roll their eyes and like, oh God, what are they going to ask for now? Well, there is a reason for that, and I think that's my job really to try to get you to understand is, yes, we are high maintenance. We're all very extroverted, very loud, very energetic. I like to tell us passionate people because of what we do. We love what we do. But it's also because we really do have a lot of very, very stringent requirements in order to maintain what we do. So I'll use myself as an example. Because of the way my task force is set up, we, as a canine handler, my partner and I, have to train on a daily basis. And it could just be 5 minutes, or it could be 10 minutes, or it could be in increments of that, but we have to do something every day. So in comparison to that, our tech specialists or hazmat, you all come on a quarterly basis. You pull out your tools out of the trucks, right? You open them up, you get your DELSARs out, you get your cameras out, you get your monitors out. We do our training, and then we do what? We put those back in the case, put them back on the apparatus, and we leave. Well, if I did that to Tucker, we'd be in trouble. Because he is a living, breathing tool that I use for my responsibilities, and I can't just put him up in a box. He is with me 24/7, and he has to maintain his capabilities 24/7, and so that's a requirement every day. We also train weekly with our task force team, or all of the other canine teams, or 4 times a month. Before we're certified, we train 8 times a month. After we're certified, we train 4 times a month. We also are required to attend the quarterly CEs for our task force itself. And then we're also required to have our canine or specialist technician training, which is either a week, or I think FEMA's changed the curriculum, but it's essentially a week of training and a certification. That's an awful lot. And the reason for that is because our job is extremely important. Yes, I'm a little biased, but it is important. But it also is high maintenance. We have to be able to maintain that on a regular basis. The certifications we have to have are Type 1, based on what your task force requires. Type 1, or the Foundational Skills Assessment, which is what Brian and Chris, if you all were here yesterday, they obtained that certification over the last couple of days. And then now they're going to start working towards their Type 1 certification, which is the highest level. It is a test they have to come in and search 2 separate locations, find up to 6 victims. They have absolutely no idea whether there's 0 or 4 on that particular location. There's distractions of food or human remains or clothing. They have all kinds of challenges thrown at them. It's an extremely, extremely difficult test to go through. Once they've passed that test, then they're good to go for 3 years. And then they get to do it all over again in 3 years, because we want to make sure they're maintaining that highest level of certification. So with that being said, in order to do that, how do you prepare for those tests? How do we do that? Can we do that on a little rubble pile in the backyard? Probably not. So whenever your canines come to you and say, hey, Chief, can I go to Oklahoma? Can I go to Teeks? Can I go to Disaster City? Can I go to Crisis City? It's because they have to in order to prepare for those tests, in order to maintain their certifications. And those equipment to be able to prepare for those tests is also very important from the day they start training until the day they retire. They have to maintain those components. So agility equipment, rubble piles, rubble piles, rubble piles. And that's the hardest thing that we're having a difficult time getting access to. A lot of places are recycling their concrete today. It's the right thing to do for the environment, correct? Well, if you're like me, my husband laughs at me every day. We're driving down the street, anywhere we're going, whether it's on a highway or on a trip. Most people are looking for restaurants, cops are looking for donut shops, firemen are looking for ice cream. I'm looking for rubble. So we're driving down the highway, and I'm like, there's a rubble pile, and I'm instantly thinking, okay, who can I contact? Who's in charge of that pile of trash? And how can I get access to it? Because that's the only way we can keep our dogs fresh. If you keep them on the same rubble pile every day, or every month even, I can tell you without a doubt, those dogs know that pile rather quickly. And there was a testament to that just this weekend. Those dogs are very smart. They're smarter than I will ever be. But you have to be able to travel to those different locations to be able to get those dogs to get to the level where they need to be. Because if they only search on one area, on one pile, it comes time to test, they may not be able to navigate the pile that they're going to be testing on. So it is important to be able to understand that it's not because we like to travel around the world. I'd like to say there's rubble piles in Hawaii. There might be. Might be good to check that out. Hey, Paul, can you put that on our list? That'd be great. But we have to be able to go to different locations to get those dogs ready for and or acclimated to that kind of environment. If they just train on concrete and they go to a test and there's a pallet pile, they're probably going to struggle. They're going to have a hard time with their footing. They're going to have a hard time having that confidence to be able to go in there and work on it, okay? here are the places who have hosted tests in the recent past who are considered to be approved sites. And when I say approved, that means they meet the standard of the size, the type of material, the location, and the logistics to be able to host a test and or say that's within the standard. So obviously Disaster City, DFRD has a type 2. We have the material for a type 1, but one of these days we'll get it to where it's a full pile. It's a work in progress. Oklahoma City and Tulsa both have great facilities. Kansas, Crisis City, Randy Hill and those guys, they are phenomenal. They have a great relationship with Crisis City out there, and it's a phenomenal facility. Great rubble and agility and the whole works. Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, Illinois, Florida. I know I haven't listed everybody. I was doing this at midnight last night, so just trying to think off the top of my head. If you and your state are not up here and you happen to have rubble that would fit within the parameters, please let us know, because we are looking for states who are willing and or able to host tests for SUSAR. We want to get our canines on that rubble, and we want to be able to test on that rubble if you have access to it and we can use it. So if you do, please let us know. Obviously we need more. We need lots more. We need multiple piles consisting primarily of concrete, wood, and materials. This is straight out of standard. Concrete, wood, and materials common to actual disaster sites. That could be rebar, that could be metal, that could be all kinds of things. That could be, in Crisis City, they have a huge dilapidated mobile home that's on one of their piles. We have cars on our pile. Whatever would be a normal disaster site, because we want them to be comfortable in that area, okay? It has to be per the standard, anywhere from, the current standard starts at 3,500, but the recommendations or updates for it to have it FEMA equivalent is a minimum of 5,000 all the way up to 15,000 square feet. A pile of trash. Now, how do you get the chief to write off on that? Man, that's tough, because they're not very pretty. How do you make a rubble pile pretty? You don't. But it's absolutely necessary. So whether it's on a city property, whether it's on a recycling site, whatever it happens to be, that's what we have to have for those tests. And the height and depth of about 6 to 10 feet, because we have to have it to where the handler can't see what's going on, but we also want it, again, to be realistic. The parameters of it are, the more difficult it is to navigate the pile, the complex, then the less space we use. Because we want to make it a challenge for them, but we don't want to kill them either, because it really is difficult to navigate that rubble. All of us that have been doing this a while, our knees and our backs are feeling it, climbing on the rubble all day. So, recommended locations for canine training. Again, I'm just saying this. These are places that we've either hosted tests or trainings. We know for a fact that they meet those parameters. Disaster City, Teeks, they do open training weekends every year. They send out that information and open it up based on what the availability is. And it's a great way to come here and participate in this facility and get those dogs on that rubble. Crisis City, they do a fall ball and a spring fling every year. And it fills up, this year I believe it filled up within the first 2 hours of sending out the announcement. And they had a waiting list of dozens of people. That's because we all have found out that's a great place to train, and that's where we need to go to get those dogs on that rubble. Hopefully we can start adding some more to that. They also host an annual test for us. The next annual test is in April, Randy, I believe. That's what we're looking at. Right in time for the tornado season. It always seems to happen for us up there, but that just adds a little bit of flavor to the test. It's all good. Superfit canine events. These are all things that you can find on the interweb, on the internet. On disasterdog.org is a great website that's always listing current workshops, places to train, who allows you to come train with them. I make phone calls all the time. Hey, are you guys training this month? Can we come join you? Louisiana is always looking for places to go and train. We are always networking so that we can find out who has what. Can we go travel? Can we come to your site? So that website right there is a fantastic resource. And then the National Disaster Search Dog Foundation. I wanted to give Deborah Tosh an opportunity to just come up here very quickly and tell you about their new facility. This has been a process that has been years and years and years in the making. And it's coming to fruition, but she will tell you very quickly, it is something that is a daunting process to do it the right way, to do it correctly. And so if you guys will give us just a second, I want to give Deborah an opportunity to talk about that facility.
Good morning. The training center Carrie's talking about is on the West Coast. We are in Ventura County, California, and she's right. As Jeff knows here, it's a lot of work to build something like this. It's not easy. We got the property in 2008, and we're hoping to be fully open next September. Right now, we are training the dogs there, and we do have teams coming out for training. We have our props that are almost complete. We still have some more. Where that's going to help you guys is we can actually help host, some of these certifications that'll meet the standard. Actually, it already does. You're welcome to send your teams out there. Our goal was to create something specifically for canine disaster search. There's a lot of facilities that are built for the entire task force, but this one, everything out there has particular training ideas in mind. Everything is thinking about the dog and what they may come across on deployments. Because what we're trying to do is when you pass the certification, that is the minimum standard required to go out the door. So what we're trying to do, what TIGS here is doing and Crisis City, we're trying to now bring those teams to a deployment readiness level. And that is to give them real case scenarios, during training instead of them having to learn on the job. And so you're more than welcome to send your teams out there to get that. It's really neat because we'll have on-site trainers to help them. So it'll be good for those that have young teams that are looking, to get some help. They've got issues with their dogs and they're struggling. They can come out, or you can send your teams that are already Type 1 certified and give them more advanced scenarios. One thing that might help you, like Carrie said, this hasn't been easy. We have the infrastructure getting through, you build a house that's tilted. It's not easy to get through, especially in California, building in safety. So it is a challenge, no doubt about it. And to get everything, really thinking it through and how can we make this more realistic. Jeff Saunders out here, he was great. Before we ever put a shovel in the ground, I asked him if I could come out here and see what they had done and lessons learned so we don't make the same mistakes over and over. We're happy if you guys are looking to build a rubble pile or whatever type of props. We'll share our plans, no secrets here. We're all in this together. One thing that's really helped us is the military. And it's through a program called Innovative Readiness Training. And it's something that President Clinton put into effect because you've got all of these reservists that have to go to a training 2 to 3 weeks every year. Well, he said, why send them to the same base over and over and get the same training? Why not give them real life training and help the communities at the same time? So for the past 3 years, that's who's been building our props. They bring the labor, they bring all of the equipment. All you have to do is supply the materials. Now, it's not something you would want to use to, build an office or something. But for these props, because they're training, they're getting on the job training at the same time, and it really is a good partnership. And all you need to do is you fill out an application, you get approved as an organization, and then you put the project out there and hope one of the branches picks it up. And we've been fortunate. For every year they've come out and they're building all of our props. They don't have to be perfect. They can learn while they're doing it. They can learn how to stucco. They can learn how to frame. Because these are props. They look like a disaster. It doesn't, have to be pretty. And that's really helped us out. So, like I said, we're there for you. We're there for your teams. Yes, it's built for canine disaster search, but it can also be used for technical search or rescue. You know, you're welcome to come out anytime you want and use it and check us out. As of next July, we will have a handler's lodge, which will help fray the costs for these teams when they come out to train. They can stay there on site. And we've got 2 dorms, one for women, one for guys, and then some individual bedrooms for instructors and such like that. So it's open, you know, officially it'll be open next September. We're using it now. Teams are still, you know, are coming out, training with what we already have done. And it's open to anybody that wants to use it. That's why we built it. So, thank you.
What is that saying? If you build it, they will come, right? We'll be there. Actually, I was just there, 6 weeks ago?
Yes.
I believe. Fantastic facility. Fantastic. So, any questions, any recommendations? If you have piles that we can send, if we can have us come and evaluate and see if it's suitable for a testing site, please, please, please don't hesitate to contact myself, Paul, or your regional representative on the committee, and please let us know. This is a group effort, it's a team effort. For those people who are testing on a type 1 to prepare for that test, if you can just think about the bare bones minimum of what it requires to just prepare, you got to have 6 people who are willing, ready, and able to be buried under concrete and wood for an extended amount of time with spiders and scorpions and bears, oh my, and be happy to be there. Be nice and quiet and smelly for the dogs to come find you. And that's really hard to find on a regular basis. But we got to do it all the time. So that's where we develop relationships with our med specs, with our technical specialists, with our rescue guys, and say, hey, you know, we buy you a case of beer. Can you come build us a prop? It works really, no, I'm just kidding, seriously. If we buy you some Bluebell, this is how it works in Texas. If I buy you some Bluebell, will you come build me a prop for our agility? We've used our rescue guys to build our props for agility. We have used our technical search and rescue to build a tunnel system underneath our rubble pile. And we share our stuff. We do share, whether they tell you that we do or not. We really do share. Now, it's really funny when we come to training the next day and there's these really nice, beautiful cuts inside the tunnel system because they've been practicing their cuts for rescue. It's all good. We're all there for the same reasons. We can adjust. But we really, truly want and need the facilities. So if you have those facilities, please contact us and let us know. And we'd be happy to evaluate and see if it's a place that we can use for a training. If you can use it for a test, that would be great. And if you have any questions, concerns, or you have somebody in your state or your region who would be a great addition to this committee, please let us know. Because we're always looking for good people who have something to contribute. And thank you for your time. Yes? Now, there's a difference between a question and a story. So if you have a story, no, I'm just kidding. Oh wait, that's a different class. I'm sorry.
Atterbury or Muscatatuck, why are they not on the list?
Because I was doing this at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I just, yeah. It was not a comprehensive list, I can assure you. I know there's plenty of other places. I just didn't add everything. So, what is the name of the game? Flexibility, right? Spontaneity. Yes.
As Carrie said, we had them out for a type 1 evaluation in Crisis City, and Carrie and Alice and Charlie from New Jersey, and I was just extremely impressed with the professionalism, and not only that, but just the coaching of the handlers and helping them understand what they could do to get better. We even then did at our conference, did a canine demonstration, kind of similar to the type 1 evaluation, to try to let everybody know exactly what the dogs and teams can do. So just a very professional organization, and I would encourage you to get them out and train with the folks. I just learned a tremendous amount from talking to them and watching them what's going on. So appreciate you coming out. And also, I talked to Erin McGregor from Missouri, and she's willing to be on the board. She's still being a person. So
Awesome. Thank you, Randy. I will just say, those of us that are evaluators, regardless of what our position is, we get to recertify every 3 years too. So We've been in their shoes. We understand that. And I have a vested interest in them passing that test. But my mentality is, I look at when somebody's taking that test, the bottom line is, am I going to be comfortable with that dog being sent to find my son, to find my mom, my daughter, my brother? Do I feel that they have the skill set and the ability to do that? If they do, so it's incumbent on me to be a mentor, to be somebody who they can call and ask a question. That's what we do this for. We don't get paid for it. We don't do it for the pay. None of us do this for the pay, do we? We do it because we're passionate about it and because we know and truly understand what it takes. So thank you, Randy, for what you said. You guys do a great job in Kansas. And please, it is a group effort. Yes, Mr. Bass.
Just, on New Jersey's behalf, federal, state partners, if you happen to have any canine handlers visiting the great state of New Jersey, across some of our bridges, traveling through some family or in the area, you give us a call. Our old piles are open. The answer is always yes. We'll make it a training day. We'll make it happen. So, state or federal, our doors are open for you guys. So, just give us a call, and the answer is yes.